Sometimes, life feels like a house we spend many years building with our own hands. We lay down the bricks of trust, paint the walls with happy memories, and we truly believe the roof is strong enough to keep us safe from any storm. But what happens when you find out the person you built that house with has been secretly taking apart, brick by brick, behind your back? Many people say that being lied to is the hardest thing a person can ever go through. But there's something even more difficult. The moment you realize the person you love is living a completely different life when you aren't looking. I want to tell you about the day my wife came home from a friend's wedding. She walked through our front door, and in her bag, she was holding a small piece of paper that held a very big secret. I did not yell. I did not start a loud fight. I did not even tell her what I knew right away. Instead, I made a very quiet choice that would change the lives of 4 different people forever. I took that medical report and gave it to the one person my wife was most afraid of meeting, the wife of the man she had been seeing. My name is Ethan Carter. At the time this all happened, I was 38 years old. I had been married to my wife, Lauren, for 12 wonderful years, or at least I thought they were wonderful. Lauren was 35, and she was the kind of person who walked into a room and made everyone smile. She was kind, friendly, and had a way of making people feel like they could trust her with anything. We did not have any children, but we had worked very hard to create a life that was comfortable and full of peace. I run my own building company, and I always took pride in making sure things were solid and strong. I thought our marriage was just as solid as the houses I built. I believed in us with all my heart. One weekend, Lauren had to travel to Chicago. She was going to a wedding for a friend she had known since her college days. She spent 3 days there, dancing and celebrating, while I stayed home to manage my work and look after our house. When she finally walked back through our door on Monday, I could tell right away that something was not right. The happy, glowing woman who had left a few days ago was gone. She looked very tired. Her face was pale, and she was much quieter than usual. She barely gave me a hug before she grabbed her bags and hurried into the bathroom to be alone. My heart felt a little heavy, but I thought she was just tired from the trip. Later that evening, while the house was quiet, I noticed a small piece of paper sticking out her purse. I am not the kind of person who likes to sneak around or look through things that aren't mine, but something about that paper caught my eye. It was a medical report. At the very top, in bold letters, it said, "Positive test result." My heart began to beat very fast as I opened it up. The report showed that Lauren had tested positive for a serious health infection, the kind of sickness people only get when they are being very close with someone else. The doctor had written notes saying she needed to get medicine right away. It also said that she had to tell anyone she had been with recently, so they could get help too. I felt a deep sickness in my stomach. You see, Lauren and I had not been close in that way for almost 2 months. She had told me that she was very stressed at work and that she just didn't feel like being close. I had believed her and tried to be supportive, but looking at that paper, I realized there was only one reason for it to exist. She had been with someone else. Instead of rushing into the room and screaming, I forced myself to stay calm. I took my phone and snapped a clear picture of every single page of that report. Then I put it back exactly where I had found it. The next morning, Lauren acted like everything was normal. She told me she was going out to have lunch with some people from her work. As soon as she drove away, I sat down and looked at our shared phone records. I found one phone number that appeared hundreds of times over the last year. I did a little bit of searching and found out that the number belonged to a man named Daniel Brooks. Daniel was not just a stranger. He was a man with a wife and a family of his own. I spent the next few days acting like a detective in my own life. I found receipts from hotels where they had stayed, secret messages they had sent to each other, and photos she thought she deleted. Every single thing I found proved the same sad truth. This had been going on for 18 months. But the most important thing I found was the name of Daniel's wife, Emily Brooks. She had no idea that her husband was living a lie. I found her on the internet and sent her a very polite message asking if we could meet for a talk. She was confused and a bit worried, but she agreed to meet me at a small coffee shop. When I met Emily, I could tell she was a good person. We sat down at a quiet table, and I didn't start by saying anything mean or angry. I just took an envelope and pushed it across the table to her. Inside were copies of the medical report, the phone bills, the hotel receipts, and the pictures I had found. I watched her hand start to shake as she read the pages. Her eyes filled with tears, and the world seemed to go silent around us. She looked at me and asked if they had both been lying to us for that long. I could only nod my head. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and whispered, "Thank you for telling me. I would rather know the truth now than find out a harder way later." That evening, the truth finally came out for everyone. Emily was waiting for Daniel the moment he walked into their house. At the exact same time, I was at my house, and I had placed all of Lauren's pack bags right by the front door. When she walked in and saw them, she stopped. Her voice was shaking when she asked, "What is this?" I didn't raise my voice. I just calmly handed her the divorce papers and told her I knew everything about Daniel. Her face went completely white. She tried to say she could explain, but I told her that there was no need. I told her that her own medical report had already told me everything I needed to know. Lauren started to cry very hard. She told me it was just a big mistake and that she only loved me. But the thing about lies is that they sound very weak once the truth is out in the light. In the weeks that followed, both Emily and I asked for divorces. Daniel's life changed too. He lost his marriage and his high-level job because he had broken the rules of his company regarding relationships at work. For months, Lauren tried to get me back. She wrote me long letters, left many messages, and even waited outside my office. But saying sorry doesn't fix a house that has been burned down. One day, she told me she wished she had never gone to that wedding because it ruined her life. I looked at her and said that the wedding didn't ruin her life. Her own choices did. I walked away and never looked back. A year has passed since that day. My life feels very different now. My building company is doing better than ever, and I have found my confidence again. I have learned that having peace in your heart is worth much more than staying in a marriage built on secrets. Sometimes a broken relationship can be fixed, but other times, the kindest thing you can do for yourself is to walk away. Revenge is not about being loud or trying to hurt someone. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is simply give people the truth they tried so hard to hide. In our story, one medical report did exactly that.